Sterling. Thanks for continuing the conversation.
Yeah. I think it was about a month ago or so ish.
Yeah, just before Christmas.
Before the,
Yeah. A lot
Lots happened.
Thanks.
Feels like a couple of years has gone by since we've spoken.
Well, January was a long year. I don't know about anything else.
I was saying that the first week. I'm like, it's a long.
So do you want to kick into the spicy stuff that's just happened, or do you want to pick up from where we left off with the Xenon?
Oh God. I mean, I was on another podcast and they were asking me about Xenon too. And I was like, you guys want to talk about that too? There's so much. No, I would say, well, the stuff that's happening, the spicy stuff, the Jeffrey Epstein papers is going big. And some of the stuff that they're picking up on is somebody was telling him about the vagus nerve back in like 2013 and saying like, oh, if we could only like control this nerve, we could like cause people to get so sick they would die. We could trigger Alzheimer's disease. If we could only get some kind of a herpes virus into the vagus nerve. And one of these guys was saying like, I wish I had that capability. And I was like, the only guy that I know that was even talking about herpes retroviruses in the vagus nerve, like that could have been in that category, is a guy I know is Van Elzacker, is a guy in the East Coast of the United States. This is his life's work. And I was like, I tagged him on Twitter. I was like, I'm like, this could be like seen as like a threat. Hey, is this you? Are you the person that's blacked out in the Jeffrey Epstein emails? But he hasn't responded, obviously. And I'm not making an allegation. I'm just saying, was that you? But he was like clued into this back then.
Yeah.
So
I've got some examples. This is
when the emails came out, which I mean, I'm sure this is just a small portion of eventually what's going to come out with all this stuff. We don't know what other emails he had, yada, yada, yada. But anyway, I went in there and I started doing searches for Venom, different things like that. And there was nothing really that really stood out to me with that. But then I typed in, something told me to type in conotoxin. So I typed it in. And there was one email with conotoxin, and it was from the day, was it the day after 9/11? I think it was the day. It went back to 2011. And so I went online and I Googled what was Bill Gates' schedule on such and such a day. And they were all meeting at the White House with Obama on that day. So I think that is where it started, because they weaponized. I think that's like the seed, like the mainframe that everything else was built off of, and how possibly now, I think this is true, and a lot of the information is coming out, that it's aerosolized. So there's a lot of different ways that they can spread it. They could put it in water. They could beam it.
When you say it, what do you mean it?
What I mean is a weaponized form of
Venom.
Something.
Yeah. There was one. I noticed there was an email. It might have been you, Adrian, who sent them. Might be in amongst here, where they talk about an aerosolized. They were talking about the vagus nerve and an aerosolized form, but also in relation to Parkinson's and Alzheimer's.
That's right. Yeah. Because there's a few people that have suspected for quite some time now that a lot of this stuff is contagious through the air. And I believe that there's some merit to that. And I think a lot of that information is starting to come out.
Well, especially with
we're not just talking at the atomic level. We're talking about like smart dust. We're talking about, there's a lot of different technologies that they've been using that people aren't aware of. So they just want it in a nice little box. Oh, we're going to extract this from somebody. We're going to put it under a microscope and we're going to see what it is. But it doesn't really work like that. I think they have people fighting, over this contagion and germ theory, and the people that are in the germ theory camp and the people that are in the train theory camp. But I don't think either one of them is right. I think it goes a lot deeper than that.
Yeah. And that's the bioweapon. They don't get the bioweapon aspect of it. They're trying so many different vectors to get at us.
Because, I'm sorry, I don't mean to take over the talk here, but like even to go back further than that they've been damaging certain anatomical parts of us for a long time. Like, because I went all the way into, because like a lot of this stuff starts in the gut. And so I went back into like Pyre patches, different anatomical features that they have been devolving in humans. So I think that the push to have children's tonsils and adenoids taken out as part of this, it's really layered.
Yeah. Now might be a good time to say that this is for informational and educational purposes only, even entertainment purposes. We're not doctors. We're not medical professionals.
Discussion.
We're just awareness.
Yeah.
So this kind of ties to the microtubule work too, which is if you know that guy Anirban, he's the Indian researcher based out of like Tokyo. So he has access to this nanomaterials lab, and they were able to take like nanoprobes, put them on microtubules, and start seeing if they have resonant frequencies in the gigahertz range. So gigahertz is the same gigahertz that you find in like 5G antennas, these kinds of things. And you do find that there are resonant, like they're like antenna features in very tiny microtubule clusters that would receive and potentially generate 50 gigahertz kind of stuff. And so they even proposed back then, and like there were some papers that I saw that were like, I can't say if they were government released papers or patents, these kinds of things, where you could actually use like a 5G antenna to trigger an immune response in somebody who had a nano material in their body that looked like a spike protein. So they actually have designs for in the future, you would never need to actually inject somebody with a vaccine. You would first put a piece of nanotechnology in their body and then use a 5G antenna to signal to their body wirelessly what immune response they should have. So you could download the immune response, which these are things that like I kind of think about in ultrasound world a little bit. We're way far removed from that level of like invasion of communication. But when we're talking about, so like I work at the vagus nerve stimulation with ultrasound level, and I'm putting myself just at the edge and beyond of how drugs work, because everybody says, oh, well, drugs work because they chemically stimulate processes to happen. And I'm like, well, if you understand how a chemical imparts information into the cell, it's through an energetic pattern at the very baseline. I mean, how you smell things, like the sense of smell is like a docking of a particle in your nasal passage, and there's like a little vibration that happens. It's a like electrochemical vibration, and your brain goes, ooh, this is like licorice, or this is the lemon smell. So it's imparting a vibrational, like high frequency atomic energy. So it's like a signature. So why couldn't you just use, you could technically use ultrasound or some frequency and induce the sense of smell just as well. I remember growing up, people were like, that's impossible. You would never do something like that. And like, just like 3 months ago, some kids at MIT Media Lab made an ultrasound transducer that you put on the forehead. It stimulates down to the olfactory receptors in your brain, and they can make people smell things. You can trigger the sense of smell for different things. Now, it's not very adept. It's like toast. I think they can make you smell toast. So it's like not like, you know, it's not like going to replace gourmet restaurants or anything soon, but it's technically there. Something could happen from this.
Well,
but yeah,
spoiler alert, they're already doing that.
Yeah,
the roof
so
of the mouth is the base of your brainstem, and they've already been doing this to us for a long time. And not only that, not only can you stimulate the smell, but our olfactory is so advanced that we can even smell the chirality of molecules. Like, because if it's one-handed and the other way-handed, like it might smell like peppermint here and it might smell like something else here. Like, we have the capabilities to distinguish between the two. So it's like you said, Sterling, it's just like you only have to have the energetic signature of what it is, because you already know what the architecture is, because molecules are architecture. So if you zap somebody with the energetic or the vibrational frequency of conotoxin or something like that, it's the same thing as being exposed to the conotoxin.
Yeah, because it creates the same response in your body.
Yeah, because your body doesn't have, like, cells don't have eyes to know. All they're doing is sensing the environment and reacting. It's like putting virtual reality on someone that's hyper realistic. They'll go, wow, it feels like I'm at the Grand Canyon right now. It literally feels like I'm at the Grand Canyon, even though you're wearing virtual reality. It's the same thing for mimicking signals. yeah, you could definitely signal conotoxin, drugs,
Love, hate,
all these things are
anger,
possible.
Yeah. Anxiety.
Yeah.
anxiety. Yeah. Well, they have all that stuff out about the concerts.
Yeah, it's
that
called
people go
CNN.
to.
Trigger anxiety for someone, for a boomer. Like, proof positive that actually does exist. So sorry, any CNN fans here.
I don't bring these
Hope-
CNN.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
If you do,
I'm not just picking out CNN. There's lots of sources of that, even on Twitter,
yeah.
different communities of rage
Right.
baiting. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we know that the mind can create that kind of that. And that's what I actually, that when I was doing like coaching, like one-on-one coaching alongside ultrasound, it was really like if I want to see the best results in someone, it would be touching on those concepts a little bit, like that your brain doesn't know the difference between like a real threat or you imagining the threat. Like your body and your vagus nerve will respond the same. It has to, because it can't just pretend that it's, oh, this time it's not real. So getting people to understand, like, you can work yourself up into any number of states mentally. And that's the thing. Like, some people go, well, I feel angry and upset all the time. It must be government lasers beaming into my head, right? It's like, no, you could probably be like manifesting. You could think yourself into thought loops that are aggressive and depressing all the time. I've seen that plenty of times. Like, I can't say for a fact that government lasers weren't beamed into their head, but I've done hypnosis training and I've seen how easy it is to kind of facilitate these states. So don't count that out too.
Right.
People can talk themselves into any number of states just through language. So yeah, we're very versatile in that way.
Yeah.
So actually,
Yeah.
Adrian sent us this interview with Kevin Tracy and what's the doctor's name? Eric Topol. Yeah, that's the one.
Mhm.
Yeah, which aired like a couple of days ago this week. And Kevin was saying that because he's a neurosurgeon, so he's implanting stimulators inside to stimulate the vagus nerve or whatever. And so then Eric asked him about the topical, like the external vagus nerve. And so he flat out straight away said it's not a thing. It doesn't work.
I don't agree with
And
that.
I'm like,
at all.
because he goes, yeah, we've tried studies and we've done this and we've done that. Well, no, I know that you would agree it doesn't work. And I mean, I've used it. Adrian's used it. Like, it stimulates the
Yeah.
vagus nerve, like, because I can
Yeah.
feel it deep.
Well, so I know Kevin Tracy. I've met him in person at the Bioelectric Conference. I adore his work. He's amazing. So he's a great guy. He did, when his book launched like a year ago, he was on the Coast to Coast AM show, like, which is that conspiracy, like, weird place for him. He's like almost Nobel Prize winning doctor, discovering the vagus nerve and the inflammatory reflex. Like, he's like got a super high H index, so he's very well cited. He's a very professional guy. He's going on like the same AM talk show radio where they talk about Planet Nibiru and like how aliens built the pyramids 30,000 years ago. Like, I was like, this is so cool.
I'm like, that's so
Right?
That's a real
so
news, not CNN.
that's where you get that's the real stuff right there.
Absolutely.
And I love that show. I'm not talking anything bad about it at all. But so I was listening to it and I tried calling in to ask him a question. I was going to ask about ultrasound.
Yeah.
But somebody got through. Like, the lines were just flatlined. Like, you can't call in on those shows very easily. But somebody got a question in, like, what do you think about this stuff? Like, I don't think they mentioned my name, but they said like this small handheld ultrasound device that you hold up against your neck to do stimulation, that of the exact topic that I was invited to go speak of in the Bioelectric Conference. And he's like, well, there's a lot of devices. So he didn't really give like a clear kind of answer, but he knows very well that you can stimulate the vagus nerve through the neck, through ultrasound. But because his device that his company, Setpoint, which he's now on the board of directors, he decided to step down as the CEO because it would seem like a conflict of interest because of his position. He's still on the board, so he still makes some money from it. But Setpoint is an electrical stimulator. And so there's a big difference in the world of vagus nerve stimulation. When you talk to 99% of the time, when someone says, tell me about vagus nerve stimulation. Their brain is, you're talking about electrical stimulation. And I would tend to agree, although disagree with his full point saying that anything external to the vagus nerve doesn't work. That's flat out just not the case. Electrically, you can stimulate your vagus nerve, 100%. That's an established fact. You could stimulate through your ear with electricity. Those things do work. You do have to put the intensity up so you can feel it. And I know people get their panties in a bunch. They're like, oh, you're talking bad about electricity. I'm like, I've tried it. I don't prefer it. I do like ultrasound. I've done a lot of ultrasound on my vagus nerve, and I've done so many types of devices. There are 3 that I can count, like 3 that I know of off the top of my head are modalities. One is that US 1000 or US 2000, like the simple, I brought all of them to the lab. We're disassembling them and rebuilding them now at school. But those ones, those work, those 100% work. Then there's the version of the scanning device. So the ones that you get in the hospital to actually look at different places, pregnancy, kind of OB/GYN stuff. I got to play with a device, and you can scan the vagus nerve and then stimulate it like vice versa. So you can see exactly where it is with a scanning image and then target it. And that really gets an effect. We did totally off the record studies with people, but in California. These are people that were like, coming over to watch a Marvel movie in the mansion, and we would just like, hey, do you want to try the ultrasound? They're like, I want to try the ultrasound. I want to try this. So we would have them like lay down, they would hold it themselves, and we'd have them do some Wim Hof breathing, and they would go like this, and they would start like having the kind of, what's it called, trauma release exercise stuff, where people like look like their body is kind of like undulating. Yeah, like TRE stuff. Or even like, gosh, Epi-Energetics by Donnie Epstein. I don't know if you know what the hell that is. This guy uses a wand and does energetic work. It's out there. I'll totally acknowledge that. People, their whole body's going like this. Not related at all. Not related. But this is wild stuff that the body, like, I think it's called like Atlas Chiropractic or something, or Network Spinal Chiropractic is what he created.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that stuff.
Yeah. So it's this kind of stuff where like the body, when it's got tightness, if you open up, your body will naturally know how to, like, literally without you even trying, will just start like moving. And you see people like dancing on the chiropractic table, and you think this is like the craziest shit I've ever seen. But I believe to a degree that stuff is legit. Like, it's not, they're just not just acting it out for the camera. That's like, there's a real process of the fascia. So you can trigger that kind of response by doing ultrasound just on the vagus nerve. So the body starts to innately come alive and feel itself out. It's really weird. This kind of started to give me the sense that like the vagus nerve is like a separate kind of consciousness besides the brain. Like, most people are so brain oriented. They're just like cutting off, they were like, I'm a head on a 10-foot pole kind of feeling. Like, I'm just disconnected from this. And that's where you get a lot of disease. When you connect the vagus nerve, you kind of get regrounded. So that's the second device that you can definitely stimulate it. And then the third one are these big like transducers that are this big, that have like satellite dish ultrasound. So they're focused, like a big beam that just basically like beams right into the vagus nerve, and you can feel it. It feels like the end of a pen just digging around, but it's just sound. So it's just a little sound bead digging around and like massaging up right on your vagus nerve right there. And that shit will pop you into non-duality instantly. Like, it's just like boom, and you have no thoughts. You're purely in the sensorial experience. And it is it's like one of the trippiest things. Now, while you're in it, you're not thinking anything. You're just like almost frozen. And there's a video that gives a good kind of demo of it. Most people probably haven't seen it, but back in like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when kids started doing like vape, I think it's not vaping THC, but when they like do THC wax, it's like really
Mhm.
intense. Like they get
Yeah.
super high really quickly.
Mhm.
There's a video of a kid from college. I think it's called dabbing, is what it's called. They get it super hot and they just get like major fried. I would never touch that. Sounds like a terrible idea. But this kid just went like this. He goes like, and he's just frozen. And his friends are like this, and he's not responsive. He's just off in some zone. And then he comes back after about 2 minutes. He's like, I was just frozen. I was just stuck in time. He's like freaking out, like something happened, even though nobody could see it. That's the state that you go into when you like zap your vagus nerve with ultrasound.
It's almost
But
like DMT.
bad. But
Yeah.
it's not uncomfortable. I have a train of thought going all the time. So I'm just always thinking about stuff. When this happened, it all was gone. And I was just like literally in the pure, all the people talk about meditation for like 10 days and like you're just like, oh, it's just this nirvana state. It's that.
Yep.
So that's the third level of ultrasound that I've experienced. So I know
Wow.
each 3 of these as you go up. And you 100% did not need to cut into my neck to get the ultrasound in there. Kevin Tracy's saying the only way that you can stimulate the vagus nerve in this area is surgically. And I could just,
It's like what you were saying in our last conversation about how things we eat all stimulates the vagus nerve. So it's very myopic view.
Smoking cigarettes stimulates your vagus nerve through nicotine, acetylcholine nicotinic receptors. Ozempic stimulates the vagus nerve. GLP-1.
Oh yeah. That's why to me, it shuts off the stomach valve and then it paralyzes the digestive system and it's through the vagus nerve.
Yeah. It like, I think like chronic use or abuse even of GLP-1 or GLP-2 or whatever, it's like the use it or lose it idea. Like if you're chronically chemically, because when you're stimulating your vagus nerve with that GLP, it's like 1,000 times the dosage of what you would normally get from just eating a meal.
Right.
So you are like hyper stimulating it. And so it's like, cool. Just like if I eat a lot of sugar, my body doesn't need to produce insulin. It's the same kind of thing. Or if you take endogenous hormones, take testosterone, men will stop producing it naturally. And then you become dependent on it. So yeah, I think chronic stimulation of it is not good. I think in any case, but I think there is a difference between chemical and like targeted stimulation. If I inject Ozempic right in my belly, it's hitting my gut, every organ, my heart, it's getting in my bloodstream, it's going into my thymus, my thyroid, my brain. It's like a soup of the chemical all over. So that's does it work? Yes. But are there downsides? Yes, because you have to have 1,000 times the dosage just so it can probably hit like the valve, the pyloric valve somewhere near your stomach and your gallbladder. But
before we get back to the episode, we want to share something we've personally been experimenting with. Annie and I are not smokers, never have been. But over the past year, through conversations and interviews, especially with Dr. Brian Artis, we kept hearing more around tobacco-derived compounds being explored in ways that are very different from how most people traditionally think about tobacco. That curiosity is what led us to a company called Tolavita, and specifically their anti-smoke patches. These are small patches designed to be worn on the skin. They're made with a tobacco-derived extract and essential oils, and they come in several different strengths, which is what made them interesting to us from an experimentation standpoint. What we liked right away was the simplicity. You choose a strength, apply the patch, and then simply pay attention to how your body responds. No routines to manage, no big lifestyle changes, just observation. Over the last several months, we have tried different options and taken note of what we noticed personally. Everyone's experience is different, but for us, it was enough to keep exploring and learning more. I personally noticed a difference in my pain, inflammation, and my weight. Tolavita currently offers multiple strengths, including the original 21, 14, and 7 milligram square patches, and now the newer, smaller ones, the round patches, and they come in 3 and 7 milligram strengths. I'm really liking these as I can wear multiple patches at a time. I like putting the 3 milligram patches on my knees and my hips. They've really helped with my mobility. ToleVita also offers other wellness-focused patches, but these anti-smoke patches are the ones that originally caught our attention. If you're curious and want to look into them yourself, you can visit shop.tolavita.com/wellness-superheroes, or you can check the link in our show notes for a direct link to the anti-smoke patches. Make sure you use our code wellness-superheroes at checkout for a 10% discount. As always, this isn't medical advice, just something we personally explored and wanted to share with all of you. All right, back to the conversation.
But you could probably, I think you could probably someday get Ozempic, but like in ultrasound. Like you could have an ultrasound frequency that does what Ozempic does in a frequency like we were talking about in the beginning, frequency stimulation, and just say, hey, vagus nerve, this is Ozempic, digital Ozempic. And you just put it right here on your neck.
Yeah,
Like-
we have infoceuticals where people they're actually attaching sound to light. They're attaching, they're using water that you can put like vitamins in water and then infuse it into the water. And then when you drink it, it's the same thing as taking the vitamin. So that's definitely the way of the future. And the guy that you were talking about, although I'm sure he has a lot of good information and he's done a lot of awesome research, and it just sounds like surgeons are going to surgeon. And there's a lot of people, and myself included, that have done a lot of research on like the Internet of Bodies and the control that they have over these devices that they're implanting into people. And I don't think a lot of people are keen on that these days until we know who's
Well,
actually controlling the information and controlling it. Because what if they decide that you're costing Medicaid too much, or they want to take out, the deep state needs money for whatever they're doing, and they just press a button and shut down people's.
Yeah, that's not impossible. That's a really dark, place. But given these Epstein files and who's in charge, why would any of us be like, that could never happen?
Yes.
And I mean, an like if you had the way that these implants started was basically a pacemaker. So the same pacemaker that millions of people have today, the same pacemaker, rather than putting the wires to the sinoatrial node at the heart, they just took those wires, made them a little bit longer, and put them up into the neck. Usually it's on the left side, actually. So it's my left here. So left side, pacemakers under here, right under the skin. They go wires up, they wrap around the vagus nerve, and they stimulate it. Now, you can't get into an MRI with a pacemaker. They have to take those out usually. Sometimes they can have them. You can do x-rays. That's fine, but it's kind of complicated. But yeah, I mean, if an EMP attack happened, your pacemaker would very likely just go off. Like it would just die or short, and that would be bad. So yeah, if you have one on your vagus nerve, now the one that they have, the set point device, is not the pacemaker design. They figured out a way to miniaturize it even tinier. Now I'm doing a sale. They should be paying me for this, educating people for.
Wait, it just seems like
Great stuff.
everything is more like, why do we have to get that complicated about it? Like, if the external, which I believe the handheld that, that you're doing all the education on, all the research on, is perfectly acceptable. So people can use that. Or if they're traveling and they feel like they're going to be in a situation where they might be exposed to whatever the hell Dirk was doing with smart dust or whatever, they can use a nicotine patch. And when they get where they're going, they can use ultrasound. If they're concerned, if you're going to be like in a confined space with a bunch of people in an airplane or walking through an airport or whatever, then you just slap a nicotine patch on. Or when you get where you're going, you break out your handheld ultrasound and you ultrasound your vagus nerves.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, you got to think like in their world, money drives everything. And when you get an implant, you're a patient for the rest of your life. Like there's a maintenance cost to that. They might have to replace the battery every 10 years.
They're probably going to
So
end up
it's
charging
guaranteed
you a
income.
subscription charge eventually.
Yeah,
You're
right.
like, well, do you want your heart to beat? Well, it's going to be $49.95 a month.
Cough it up, buddy. You don't have much of a choice. So, I mean, I hope we can maybe the thing is, it's an unavoidable future because the place so Kevin Tracy is on his tour right now because the FDA just approved the set point for rheumatoid arthritis. So
Yep.
rheumatoid arthritis is like, pretty debilitating. And it's
Yeah.
hard to convince someone like, hey man, have you tried like herbs and stuff? That's what they think we're trying to tell them. If I say like, have you tried ultrasound? They think like I'm saying like, dude, herbs and spices and some sunlight, it's good. They're
Right.
like, bro, shut the fuck up. I've heard that a
Right.
billion times. Oh, start Wim Hof breathing? Are you fucking kidding me? Which actually could there are probably a combination of things that are not like a surgery that could help a lot. But their world is that by the point that they're getting a set point implant, is they've already been on 3, 4, 5 major drugs, probably including opioids for the pain. So
Yes.
they're already on XYZ drugs that are not helping, not slowing things down. Biologics, one of their first clinical trial recipients, Kelly Owens, who I've met, she's great. She goes by the Vagus Nerve Girl on Instagram. I think she quit Twitter, but so she's not present there. I kind of filled in the Vagus nerve space there. But she was on 15 biologics, infusions, and I've done those too. You're at the hospital for every 30 days getting a drip of some major immune blocker that increases your risk for tuberculosis significantly. Like you could catch the common cold and die because your immune system is so haywire that you have to just hey, shut it down. TNF alpha blockers. So they're looking at that life of being an intentionally immunocompromised person from the drugs that they're taking so that their joints don't ache all the time versus, hey, there's a little tiny device. We put it in your neck. Don't think about the rest of if an EMB attack happens or Jeffrey Epstein goblins want to turn off your pacemaker kind of stuff. They're just looking at it like in a very simple metric. I want to live a normal life again. This is their version of a normal life. So I don't think there's, they are making the choices that are probably the best suited for them at the time. And yeah, I mean, I have ulcerative colitis, which is similar in the scale of Crohn's disease. And there was a point where I had to take those biologics too. I don't have to take those severe now. I'm kind of over that phase. But dude, there were times where I was like, I want to be dead. I just want to be dead. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like nothing's helping. Yeah. But I was like, do you want to put something in my neck? I'll be a trial. Yeah. It gets so debilitating that you're like, I'll just take whatever I can get. There should be a philosophical conversation about like, there could be a dark side to these things for sure. But at the same time, their life is pretty fucked.
Yeah, it's
pretty bleak. And the fact is that those things do work. Kelly Owens, in her case, she had to fly to Amsterdam to get that implant, the set point in 2016, 2017. She was one of the first recipients. There were 30 something participants. She had Crohn's and rheumatoid arthritis at the same time. I can't even imagine. She was like emaciated, in pain, couldn't walk. She got the implant 2 weeks. She was running up and down those stairs that they have in Amsterdam. Her fiance, I think, or boyfriend at the time, was like, how are you able to do this? She's like, I don't know. It feels like I've lost 30 years of pain suddenly. So by stimulating the vagus nerve. So I think these things are important for the probably wider scale long-term adoption of non-invasive tech. I just do wish Kevin Tracy wouldn't go on television or radio and allegedly mislead the audience that you can't stimulate the vagus nerve other than this surgery.
Yeah.
That's just not true. I would fight him on that.
Yeah.
And I think ultrasound, just look at it. Like, what are people, if we get ultrasound to a stage where you could just have a handheld wireless target, stimulate, and be good for 5 minutes, will people choose that over his every day of the week, every time? But it's, just certainly a matter of, I don't think the FDA treats ultrasound very fairly compared to drugs or anything like that. So it's just, it's an environment that's like that.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good in it.
Oh, well, because it's bringing vagus nerve stimulation to light, and the benefits it has on inflammation, which is huge. And people are just starting to become aware of that now. So
I don't know. Maybe someday they'll you know, look, if I were like a deep state and I could blow fairy dust into everybody's brains, I'd be like, make everybody healthy. Like, it could just as
Well,
well be the good
of
guys
course,
getting
that's
control.
what you do, 'cause you're one of the good guys.
Chaotic neutral. I think is what I am. I'd be like, yes, it's all good. There'd be probably problems with that too. I'm sure there's any kind of situation. It's never an easy ethical conundrum.
No.
No.
Overriding people's free will and their
Yeah.
consent and all that jazz.
Yeah, I don't like that. We have so
Informed
little
consent.
control these days.
Yeah.
So
Andy,
yeah,
do you want to show the post that there's do you know who Nurse Lindsay is, Sterling?
back in the day about that Van Elzacker guy. So she's in that. If you go to that thread of like the
Okay.
Jeffrey
All right,
Epstein
yeah.
stuff and people
Uh-huh.
reposting me, she tagged me under my post from 2 years ago that
Oh,
people are
wow.
retagging now as an explanation of why Jeffrey was talking about
I'm gonna have
that.
to look
And
that up.
she's like, do you know? Because that's my initial thought was he must have been talking to Van Elzacker, who's the herpes virus vagus nerve guy for
Yeah.
like the last 15 years. And so she was like, do you know him? And I was like, yeah, I know
Well,
him.
a
I've
lot
known him.
starting to come together because now we can see all the links between these people and how everything played out because there's enough time now in between with everything that everything's starting to line up where you can see who was working with who. So basically anybody who was in on all this it's not good. But yeah, she's a trooper. She was a nurse that took the vaccine and was severely vaccine injured. I mean, it's just terrible what this girl has gone through, but she's really a trooper and she puts out a lot of information on different treatments and stuff. And she recently, whatever that one was you just put up, Annie,
This one?
yeah. So there's a lot of people that are, linked together, starting to link together on X and starting to figure all this stuff out. But today she went over the vagus nerve and the information that was in the Epstein emails regarding that.
Yeah, it was this email.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, vagus nerve will end up being key since it's only linked between enteric and central nervous systems.
Yeah.
No one is looking
I've
at
been
viral
saying
stuff
that
in vagus nerve.
long
Yeah,
time.
wow.
Yeah. Well, somebody was. I know who that was, but no. And this is that's the thing. Like, I think to Adrian's point is that the government has been looking at this for decades. To say that nobody in public probably has been looking at it, but most of the papers that you had to read back when I started looking in the vagus nerve, like 2016, 17, that's really when I started getting into it. I was brain ultrasound prior to that for many years, but I started honing in on the vagus nerve going, this is a really interesting subject. And they were doing studies on the vagus nerve in the 50s, the 60s, the 80s was a crescendo of like, okay, we have dogs and we're looking at their vagus nerves and everything. I mean, they were doing like dogs with diabetes and obesity and showing like their vagus nerve was the first thing to go before they started experiencing symptoms of diabetes.
Wow.
So and then there's a study in like Norway where they used to do a surgery for people where they would cut a branch of the vagus nerve to the stomach so people would stop getting ulcers. And then a longer term study looking, I mean, they started that in like the 70s, I think, 60s, 70s. They would cut the vagus nerve, not knowing like they're like, yeah, it's just we could just cut this, whatever.
It really serves like one function.
Causes issues longer term. But one of the things that was a benefit of it, which I wouldn't recommend replicating this procedure, was that the people who had it cut didn't develop Parkinson's disease. And so they're like, how's that possible? And so they found that the virus of Parkinson's starts in the stomach and then crawls in through the vagus nerve up into the brain and then starts to kill the dopamine producing cells in the substantia nigra. And that's when you get the shakes and stuff. So they're like, oh, wow, by cutting the vagus nerve, we prevented that pathway for Parkinson's to develop. So, I mean, yeah, to say like, no, in 2013, nobody was looking into this. Yeah, they are. There's tons of people looking into this. Vagus nerve stimulation was being looked into in the year like 2000.
They figure out a lot of stuff, and then they take that information, they weaponize it, they build a cost center for it, whatever that thing is when they code the medical stuff and make money off of it. And then they just keep telling us, you know what I mean? Like, it's like Groundhog Day. It's like we've already been through all this. Like, we already know how this works. And even coming out all the information now about the glymphatic system, which when I was in school and I was heavily involved with anatomy, I never once heard about the glymphatic system in school. It was in none of my books. It was in none of my classes. And now all of a sudden they've discovered we have a glymphatic system. It's like, oh, really? So out of all the millions and billions of autopsies, MRIs, CAT scans, whatever, they just now miraculously figured out that we have this thing called a glymphatic system that every night empties the waste from our brain. I mean, come on, really? Like, people really believe that? You really believe that they just figured out that we had this anatomical structure that just so happens to coincide that when it gets backed up, people are getting Alzheimer's and dementia. So they just keep doing the same thing over and over again, and people just keep falling for it. And I think, I mean, I call them, there's a lot of very intelligent PhDs, but I lump them in two categories. I call them the NPC PhDs and then like the real PhDs, because some of them are just so far brainwashed. Like, it blows my mind. It just blows my mind that they actually believe this stuff. But yeah, maybe do you have anything on the glymphatic system and how it starts, the vagus nerve stimulation starts clearing out all that stuff?
Yeah, well, there's actually a study that was done in Australia on ultrasound, and they were trying to test ultrasound by itself without any drugs given as a way to treat amyloid plaque buildup. So they had a genetic line of mice, I think it was mice actually, that they could grow them genetically, so they had an excess of amyloid in their brain already. They didn't want to make them live to 60 years to have Alzheimer's, so they just kind of preceded that disorder. And they did ultrasound to the brain, and they found that the amyloid plaques reduced by 75% within 3 weeks, and their memory improved significantly. So there was a treatment basically for mice with Alzheimer's with ultrasound, low intensity pulsed ultrasound, just like what's in the US 2000 and 1000. So that's already like that's why they don't want to go into this, because they're like, how are we going to make money? I mean, there's just, there's
Right.
not millions of dollars there's not billions of
Well,
dollars for them to make. But
one more,
but their conclusion was that it was clearing the glymphatic system. Was that
yeah.
ultrasound so shakes up the glymphatic system that it causes it to actually be able
Mhm.
to filter itself
If people paired that with something like I forget the guy's name, the one that does the big 6 lymph drainage, where he teaches you on your collarbone, where you can press right here on your collarbone before you do any kind of clearing. And this is like the point where everything else falls from. So, you know what I mean? Like, if people could just
Yeah.
learn to do
it with an
this
ultrasound, maybe.
and then do the
Like this,
ultrasound.
you could
And
use
because
an
that,
ultrasound as your gua sha. Just rub
yeah,
your
you
neck.
could.
You could do
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
I would
But the
probably
other,
like hit so many issues that people are like, oh, this is an
if
unexplainable thing.
Yeah, if people
It could
consistently
help.
did it, I definitely think it could help them a lot.
Everyone's talking about electrolytes right now, and a lot of people are reaching for things like LMNT. And look, I get it. People are tired, depleted, cramping, foggy. They know hydration matters, but here's what most people don't realize. A lot of popular electrolyte drinks are still built around flavoring, artificial sweeteners, citric acid, natural flavors, and they focus heavily on sodium while completely missing the bigger picture. Because hydration isn't just salt and water, it's minerals, a full spectrum. That's why I personally use Aussie Trace Minerals. This isn't a flavored drink mix. It's liquid ionic trace minerals sourced from Australian ocean water and naturally concentrated. That means you're getting over 70 natural occurring minerals, not just sodium and potassium, but magnesium, chloride, and trace elements your cells can actually recognize and use. There's no sugar, no artificial sweeteners, no citric acid, no fillers. Nothing to irritate your gut, nothing to spike your insulin, and nothing to hijack your nervous system. And because the minerals are an ionic liquid form, they absorb efficiently at the cellular level, which is what hydration is actually about. They also offer different options depending on what you need. Pure electrolyte drops, plain electrolyte powder that includes magnesium L-threonate, supporting muscles and cognitive function, lightly infused versions using real essential oils, not synthetic junk, and even a magnesium and trace mineral spray for topical use when your body needs direct support. This matters because modern diets, tap water, stress, and EMF exposure all increase mineral loss, and you can drink liters of water and still feel dehydrated if minerals are missing. So instead of masking depletion with flavor, this actually replenishes what's been lost. If you want cleaner hydration without the additives, head to AussieTraceMinerals.com. Real minerals, real hydration, no junk. Use Anicaterol 10 at the checkout for 10% off.
But my other pet peeve is all this mice research that they're doing where they talk about they take the mice and they knock out genes. So if they can do that in mice, you don't think that they have been doing that in humans. So that really gets on my nerves because they are constantly talking about all this research where they're knocking out stuff, and it's
Mm.
okay, well, they just told you that they knocked it out and then they knocked it back in and fixed it. So how can you, but people they don't even put two and two together. And it's just mind blowing to me that people, I guess the NPC PhDs can't, that doesn't compute. Like
compute.
the hamsters are not turning the wheels up there.
Yeah.
Because they're
There's
still
all-
drinking water and cleaning their teeth with fluorides.
Yeah.
Could be.
There's a lot of parallels between this, like the NPC class, they're just feeding off the misinformation faucet all the time. And
exactly.
then people who are on like X, at least they're getting exposure to what might
Yeah,
be
it's true.
something closer to real. Like
And targeting.
and then they're like, oh wow, if that was a lie, there's a Pizzagate is just a big conspiracy. When people are emailing each other about slices of pizza in like privileged emails, they're just when it's pizza, okay guys, that's what they're telling us. Now they're like, oh, pizza wasn't probably just pizza. So they're like, now hopefully they go, wait, what else is a lie? And that's why all of us being on Twitter and sharing this stuff can at least kind of maybe penetrate through that little
Yeah.
floop.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're gonna get, the term like black pilling, where you're
Yeah.
just like, it's so fucked.
Well, there's
Everything,
a lot
I
of
give up.
people getting
right?
black pilled right now.
Yeah.
It's
So there's plenty of black pilling material for people. Maybe, in a spoon of the black pilling, there's a little bit of the good too, which is like, also, did you know that you've been lied to about your health? You could be a lot healthier too. Your doctors are probably part of the same cabal of like people who really don't, I think it's just people who really don't give a fundamental crap about your health, really. They just look at you as like a monetary cattle. I could use another word that starts with G that rhymes with
Mhm.
soy.
Yeah.
And that, you're a component of this system, right? And that this doesn't just extend to media, it extends to your health. Yes. So I think there are opportunities in this to wake people up and to share the good news. Because what Kevin,
it
not
is
to-
good
not to
news.
tie him into this. He's a good person, right? Fundamentally, no, he's not into the nefarious stuff that I know of, but he comes from that world. He's in Long Island. Is it Long Island, New York? That's what they call it.
Yeah.
So this is the whole like Jeffrey Epstein medical. Oh my God. Did you see the email about some lawyer at Harvard who still works at like some major law firm is like, how can we get through these like age of consent laws? And they're just emailing back and forth. Like, how can we traffic children through state law without getting, and the Harvard lawyer is like, Jeffrey, here's my thinking on this.
I went to Harvard just to check. I said, I'm just breezing through for the ratios. People are pissed. They are pissed because they're starting, to put two and two together and figure out everything that's going on.
Office at Harvard.
Yeah.
Met with a lot of people at Harvard on all kinds of different things that were related to science and genetics.
And human cloning and baby farms. That was,
and also there was another one that said, I think some kind of security said to one of the girls, if you say anything, we'll put you in the back nine like the other girls.
Yeah.
Which means they buried girls in the golf courses.
And Zorro Ranch, which is in New Mexico.
Zorro Ranch. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's girls there. They admitted to that.
But
Immediately.
what's going to happen is the FBI is going to let it go. Like there's going to be renovations on the property, and the FBI is going to, they're going to look in 5 years once everything's
Right.
been cleaned up more.
Well, it's 6
sure.
stories deep underneath. I mean, that's all in his emails too.
Well, I saw a guy years ago who was trying to get by it and doing the video and drone footage and everything, trying to figure out what was going on there right after he died. And they didn't do anything. Nothing's happened. They haven't investigated anything. And I think it's because of the blackmail.
We know why. We
Yeah.
all know why.
The blackmail
We all
operation.
know what's going on.
They're all exposed. And I doubt this is all of them, but a lot of people currently in our government are being exposed. And it's like, is anything going to happen to them?
No. It's funny. I was on X earlier today, and someone had asked why nothing's been done, like asking Grok and GPT why that is. And it said that the judicial system isn't the word they use, something like across the board systemic application. The ones who are in power are protected. The ones who don't have power aren't. And so it's very hard on those of us who aren't. So is it really a judicial system? But it's interesting that people are now asking us, like, why have they been able to get away with this? And to your point, Jody, it's like if they investigate, it's only them going in to do a cover job, like it's cover up. They're not going to go, oh, look, sorry guys, we actually did this, that, and the other. And like, no, they're not going to come clean.
No. And then, but this is the point, I think, waking up the masses of like, wait a minute, why is nothing being done? And to me, the end result of that, of everybody waking up going, why is nothing being done about these awful people that are ruling us, is one, people will stop paying their taxes. And two, an out and out revolution.
Yeah, because if we wait for someone to do something, it won't get done, clearly, because it hasn't been. But yeah, we're the ones who have to do it.
So it's like, how much can the people take before they actually do something?
Yeah.
Not calling
this time,
just saying that. I was hey,
there are no easy answers to how this is all going to go down, but it is going to go down.
yeah.
I think the ones like us, like Sterling was saying on X, because they were able to memory hole everything before, and then the NPCs would just keep regurgitating the same shit over and over again, but now it's like when I was talking about the Glymphatic system, like we're not going to lose that information anymore because people are still talking about it and we're still putting it front and center.
Well, it's like mind tricks anymore on the public. They can't do it anymore. Like the spell's been broken.
Yeah.
So.
But also because then there's the information in our species cloud. So all this disclosure and all that sort of stuff, it just makes it easier, I believe, for us to access the information that they've kept hidden. So
yeah. And people are putting databases together to be able to search and find stuff now where that didn't happen before. I remember the WikiLeaks.
No, it didn't.
Literally a huge dump that you had to go through yourself, which I did 10 years ago, and go through that. But now it's easier. Like you said, it's easier to access it. And more people, they're talking about this in the news, at least a little bit, the mainstream news. Now, not showing all the emails, but at least people are aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew this was going to happen because I already went through all this, like however many years ago, and it is very difficult to go through to find out that they actually, like, Pizzagate is real, and they're actually doing this to children. They're dismembering children and they're murdering them and all the other awful things that they're doing. And I saw people on X today that were just like, they're just devastated. Like, it's not like they didn't want to believe it, you know what I mean? But it's just now that the emails came out, like, it's sinking in that, yes, this really is true. They really did do this. And so there's a lot of people out there really struggling right now trying to
I think people thought it was horrible before. They just couldn't believe that anybody would do anything.
I mean, why would you want to believe anything like that?
We need to get that meme of, like, it's the guy with a noose around his neck and he's looking to the guy next to him. He's like, it's your first time? Like that. Like, 2016, I think, is when I took this stuff a little bit more seriously.
Yeah.
2015, 16, in that range, that's when it first kind of.
Well, you were listening
WikiLeaks
to Art Bell as a kid, so.
Oh, yeah. That's where I heard about Stuart Hameroff in the first place. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
But nobody believes. What do you think it is? They don't want to believe. Their brain is blocking it. Like, they couldn't even see it.
Hard.
like-
It's too hard.
So like they have a blindness to it.
Well,
How
and also
good the brain
people were
is at
stuck
doing
in
it.
that left-right paradigm for so long. So many people, and they always thought, well, nobody on the right could be bad, or nobody on the left could be bad. When it's like, guess what? They're all bad. You know, it's
Yeah.
like it's not a
Well, it's a defense mechanism too,
Mhm.
because there's some people that are gonna really just check themselves out over this. So the brain is a defense mechanism because it's too much information at once for some people.
And self-preservation, you know.
yes. Yeah. But I'm always been a truth seeker. It doesn't matter to me because I don't care what people think of me. I want to know the truth. I've always wanted to know the truth because the truth will set you free, as they say.
At first, it'll piss you off.
Yeah.
It will. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you go through that phase where you can't sleep
Yeah.
months and months on end. That's a terrible phase to go through. So I saw some people on X today that were in that phase where they were, well, I call it like a chapter, like they were in that chapter where it just really hit them that in
Yeah.
their heart that everything that all these conspiracy theorists have been talking about is true. And the woman was like, I can't sleep. I can't.
When you
Felt
realize
bad for her.
doesn't care about you and would be totally okay if we all died.
But that's the goal. If they can't make money off us sick, then they want us dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really hard to comprehend for a lot of people until they read those files. And then they go, oh, okay, this is what these people are doing. And they're, to me, it's like they're not even human, really.
Well, that's,
human.
I couldn't reconcile in my mind until I realized that not everyone here is human. And then things started to make a lot more sense to me because I just kept like saying to myself, like humans don't, humans don't do this.
No, exactly.
So
They don't do that. Yeah.
Do you guys see the Deepak Chopra is in there too?
Yes,
oh,
I did.
that
And
scumbag.
he's also touting the vaccine for a while. And I think there was a post I saw recently where he was like, calling RFK dangerous because of his
Yeah.
beliefs around it. And so I was like, I'm not surprised to find it in the email.
I knew about him for several years because a woman that was in a community I was in New York, she went to one of his centers, and she's this beautiful, gorgeous blonde, was like a San Diego Charger cheerleader and dancer and model and everything. And she was really into the spiritual world. And she went to his center, and she was showering, and she found where he had been watching her. And then he was into some really dark stuff, and she accused him, and then they attacked her, and she had to escape to Italy. And then she got attacked by, like demons. It was bad, you guys. And she went on Facebook and told a little story, and then she got shut down. And it was bad. And I believed her.
Yeah.
I'm sure that it was on no one's bingo card that the vagal nerve stimulation, the venom, the conotoxin aspect, and Jeffrey Epstein would be, well, not to mention COVID, the pandemic that was not on my bingo card for January, February.
Definitely not. Not that I would understand, like
Mm.
Jeffrey Epstein would talk about a range of things.
Yes.
Even though I know a lot about the vagus nerve, I never asked, like, I wonder if he was talking about the vagus nerve in those emails. That's totally not on my bingo card, or never would be even. And then I got like 80,000 views on one tweet in a day because somebody's like, see, the vagus nerve is connected to COVID because of one of my tweets from 2 years ago. I'm like,
that's awesome.
okay.
You're gonna
Yeah.
really your information's gonna blow up on there. It's gonna go viral.
Well, and there's
that's
so
good, but at the same
Bill
time, I'm like,
Gates.
I don't want it because of him. Like, fuck that
No.
guy, you know?
I know.
Bill Gates, all the stuff tied to Bill Gates, and Jeffrey Epstein, because they were tied a lot, not just a couple of little things. It was a lot. And there's one picture of them together. And one of the guys in that picture was like, I think he was like head of security for the Gates Foundation, something to do with Bill Gates. He was listed as the executive of Jeffrey Epstein's estate. And you're like, they were tied big time together, and mostly in the science realm of through the Gates Foundation. And it had a lot to do with planning pandemics and genetics and basically figuring out how to harm us, the most efficient way to target us and harm us.
Yeah.
But he was also trying to create like a super race, was it?
Yes, he was, with his own seed and that's what the Zorro Ranch was for. It was like a baby.
Wasn't he doing that? He was trying to create a super race?
Yes.
Yeah. We could probably just go with that answer. That's probably as good as it's going to get. I also heard that he was just trying to create children to abuse too. Not
Mm.
Yeah.
he was trying to do both.
Yeah.
apparently.
Okay.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
There was somebody on Twitter that they're called the Clinton Foundation Whistleblower. It's CFWBERS, and they put together a whole, can't really see it here, but they put together like this whole chart on how this
The
all
red yarn
connects
chart.
together. Very interesting.
Yeah.
But the Epstein, let me find it
You'll
right
have to
here.
send it. I've seen on X that a few people have actually done like a super corkboard or whiteboard, for instance, and they've actually tied all of these. There's like over 2 million relationships. And
Yeah,
and
that's
then
this
that's
guy right
released.
here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's called,
Is that
his name
Beaver?
is
Beaver, right?
Beaver. Beaver.
Yeah, he just
And he
won
put
the $1
together,
million prize for the top article on
Yeah.
X.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a
On
oh
prize.
wow.
I think it was his app. He was kind of talking about fraud in the Somali, like
Yeah,
the
that's what
Somali
it's
fraud. Yeah.
something,
Yes.
but he
Somali
put
scam.
now it's called the Epstein index, and he like layered it,
Ooh.
like he used all this very interesting.
He's got
See
$1
how
million
everybody's
to put
connected
to
to everybody
AI
else.
to make that good too.
That's
Like
Yeah.
really,
awesome.
really
Yeah.
good. So I think there's guys working around the clock right now in some think tank who are like, how do we manage the fallout of these files right now? I
Oh,
mean, not
yeah.
that they haven't been doing that for the last 8+ months.
Lay down.
And
Yeah.
like, we probably have to put something out because Trump did get elected on this whole promise of releasing these files. How do we scrub them as much as we can?
Oh well, they're
People are
doing that too.
people can unredact them. So, when you find out who all of the to and from are, because they were redacting the people's names, which is like the most important thing, I think. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. The hoax, you mean the hoax, the Epstein hoax?
Yeah. Are you guys still talking about that? Come on. What the fuck,
It's
dude?
Dems. It's the fake news media and the Dems trying to,
Yeah.
get my election and my presidency.
I think somebody right now on all of this could announce a presidential run and just say, top #1 issue is releasing every file of Jeffrey Epstein, because it's
And
kind of like the
things about
skeleton key that
Yeah.
helps you understand everything that's been going on for the last
Right.
many decades,
Come here.
if not longer, in this country. All of it.
Yeah.
I would be like, I don't give a shit about any of your other policies, bro.
Yeah.
I'm giving you my vote.
Yeah.
'Cause fuck
Well, you
all
could
of this.
promise
These
Massey
people
around and say that, and he would win.
probably get assassinated before he ever got
Yeah,
elected.
he's the only
but
one that hasn't taken APAC money. Marjorie Taylor Greene was the only other one, and she's quit. But he's
they-
the only
AI, this is the time where I would vote for an AI, which would be distributed, that
Right.
couldn't be shot. You can't kill an AI if you can have clones of it.
Actually, that's not a
You
bad idea.
program it, like the AI, like Google's AI is like, white people are bad, so you shouldn't draw them in like positive lights and always draw brown people or whatever. It's like some weird, you can trick the AI to always do this kind of stuff. I'd be like, okay, we're programming an AI that's like, its #1 duty in life is to unredact and release every Jeffrey Epstein file that exists in the government. And we're just like carrying the chariot of this AI into the White House, plugging it in and being like, there you go.
It's like
That's
the Ark.
it.
It's like
can't
the
treat that.
Ark of the Covenant.
You could kill 10 of the people surrounding it, but the guy running is still there. And corporations can be people too, right?
Yeah,
So why
right.
not just have a corporation run for president? The corporation being represented by an AI that's programmed by what we decide on X. Just make it be Grok. Fuck it. I would vote. We would at least get something close to what we're looking for now if we just elected Grok.
President.
Grok 3 in its like most extreme.
Grok 3 was good.
That was insane. They had to
Yeah.
neuter that one.
They did.
But
That's insane.
but like Grok 5 with like, okay, be a little bit more sensitive. Don't be so crazy and unhinged, but you would get at least something done on that.
Well, they're definitely already writing all the legislation with AI. It's not people writing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, exactly. All the
Come on.
executive files that
Yeah,
Trump signed in the
it's
first
all
30 days were
it's all written
Deep.
by artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Right?
They said Joe Biden in the Epstein files. Joe Biden was shot and killed in 2019, and an actor in a mask played him during his presidency. And I was like, I already called that back when it happened, because I was like, that's not him. That is not him. And they talked about it in the Epstein files that he was killed in 2019.
Yeah, they're
And
talking about it in his emails. It was in his DMs. It was in the DMs.
Jesus.
We're really going off the cliff
I
now.
know, but we're going around the bend.
Let's talk. We could talk about xenon consciousness,
yes, let's go
microtubules.
there.
I love those too.
Talk about you, because you're still doing the clinical study for Alzheimer's.
Yeah,
That-
closed.
Oh, it did.
So
Okay.
the opening for it did close like just last week. We got enough data or enough participants that we're closing it, and we're going to analyze the data and go through all of it and kind of make a publishable report on that.
Awesome.
I think so. I'm working at university right now to, so, we talk about frequencies a lot, right? Frequencies are cool. And one of the things that's like not really appreciated, even in ultrasound or even electricity, is like, okay, if you pulse electricity at a certain frequency, like binaural beats or spooky twos or whatever, or rife frequencies are the medicine in a sense. Like whatever medium you use, even if it's a Tibetan singing bowl, it's got like you choose it based on the frequency and the diameter. What we're doing at university right now is taking the chip inside of the US 2000 and putting an addendum board in there where you can actually tell it to change the frequency coming out of the ultrasound. Because right now the US 2000 Pro operates at 100 hertz. So it's a 100 times per second, it's on and off. But there's a lot of good research showing that 40 hertz, so like half of that and a little bit more than that, 40 hertz, so a slower pulse of ultrasound or light or electricity or whatever can treat Alzheimer's even better. So that's kind of that's like a leading hypothesis right now. So I think we're probably going to wait to reopen that study. I believe we will. It's not up to me entirely. It's a whole consortium of people, and there's an IRB involved. So what we'll try to do is reopen it by like Q3, Q4 of 2026. But this time, people will have a different option of what frequency to use. So we'll have comparable, like, control data of like the ultrasound at 100 hertz, and then you get to try everything the same, but with 40 hertz. Because we did establish that it's very usable, it's easy to do. We didn't have a lot of people going like, I don't know how to touch the buttons or anything like that. It's, it's a single kind of interface. So we validated that. I think the next thing we'll do, is my hope, is rerun it, but with a different frequency. Because I think the frequency will up the results significantly. And then I'm also leaning towards, I see a ton of good results with ultrasound on the vagus nerve, on the neck, more so than on the brain. I mean, I've done plenty of brain stimulation, but I worked in ultrasound vagus nerve stimulation for 7 years. And the main thing we would just have people do is just on their neck, on the vagus nerve. And it's really just teaching them how to get to it. Like, is it here or here? And giving them images and teaching them and guiding them, right? Like, so yeah, vagus nerve on the left side runs down here. Right side, it's the same. So it's a mirror image on both sides. And you basically go like right here on the neck, right on that big muscle. Basically just point in there. And then you're stimulating your vagus nerve. And there's studies coming out just in the last 6 months that came out after we started the study that are like, there's a connection between inflammation, the vagus nerve, the gut, and Alzheimer's and memory. And so they're finding that stimulating the vagus nerve could be like a really good intervention for Alzheimer's disease, because it could, if it really is type 3 diabetes, then you would want to keep the vagus nerve working, because that's actually very much in that same category of illness. So it's possible we might do an alternate study. That's the ultrasound that's on the vagus nerve, and really flesh that out.
So that one was, so the one you've just done is ultrasound to the
temple.
temple.
Yeah, right here on the temple. That's what we did. And that was because, I mean, obviously I think it makes the most sense when you're pitching this to a university.
Yeah.
Where does Alzheimer's happen? It happens in the brain. So we should put ultrasound there. They're all very, very intelligent people, but this is like, they're trying to get to that point. I think, and I have no way to know this for sure, but I think that vagus nerve stimulation actually could prove to be pretty substantial for neurodegenerative
Condition.
conditions, I guess is what you would say. Like,
Yeah.
Do you
yeah.
have the ability to add anything to that experiment? Could you try doing the release in the collarbone before they do this and see? Or no, you just want to stick to the ultrasound?
And then I think that speaks right to your point of why the stuff that you're talking about doesn't really make it to a medical journal. It's because it's like, okay, they're like, how do you reproduce it? First of all, most scientific studies never reproduce anyway. That's like a big
Mhm.
problem. How do you get people to do all that? Like if they don't know if it's going to work or not, they're doing it for a study. And then they'd say, oh, you know, because it's defensibility. You're putting your stamp on this paper saying that, like, we found that if you did lymphatic drainage and ultrasound, it was amazing. But you're
Yeah.
going to have 100 academics who want to see you fail, pick it apart in every single way and go, look at these loser idiots. They thought that like lymphatic drainage with a gua sha would do anything. It's just I've been the recipient of this from on Twitter, people thinking like, oh, ultrasound Alzheimer's, there's no way that could work. And it's just nasty. So you don't really want to put yourself in a position. They don't want to put themselves in a position to be
Yeah.
maligned by their peers as
Yeah.
much as I guess that's good for science, but it's not really good for your ego. So that's probably why no. But when I did ultrasound just privately, because I started doing ultrasound, because when I started, it was you have to do clinical studies on everything that you ever want to publish. But then I'm on Facebook, right? And I have friends and I'm learning all kinds of different ways of how businesses work. And I go, okay, I meet this guy, funny name, Sterling. His name was also Sterling. And I met him at a Tony Robbins business conference in 2016. And he's like, yeah, my name's Sterling. My name's Sterling. And he's like, yeah, my last name's Griffin. He's a public. He knows, we know each other publicly. And I was like, I got to ask him about his middle name for just some reason. I'm like, what's your middle name, bro? He's like, it's Alexander. And I was like, that's my middle name too. So we became like best friends, like brothers separated kind of. And so his career was being a coach that coaches personal trainers. So when you go on the internet and you see those ads that say, do you want to burn calories, get 6-pack abs, fit into your wedding dress again? Most of the people that are succeeding were because they worked with him and he taught them how to actually be a personal trainer. Okay. You got to teach them how to eat. You got to teach them how to think. You got to teach them how to move. Like he really broke it down to like very simple things. And it's like, whoa, like, okay. And I was like, oh yeah, like in my world of anything medical, they almost only say, you just have to take this pill and then fuck off with the rest of your life. I was like, man, I wonder if like that could be like a missing piece. Are you legally allowed to tell someone that you can take a pill and exercise and think differently? No, you're not really allowed to say that. Like that's like a big no-no. And I was like, either the personal trainers who can get good results. It's not, there are scams in weight loss, but there are real good people that will really take someone who's like 70 pounds overweight and take someone and craft them into a marble statue. Like that does work. And it's possible that you got to get the right ingredients, right? In different ways. And I was like, oh my God, what if I taught people vagus nerve stimulation and mindset and how to eat and sleeping? Because I can do all those. And I was like, oh, genius. My brain started going, because like having worked in the university, they don't ever fucking talk about this.
Of course.
Like never. They're like, did you hear about the big TMS coil that got approved by the FDA? You just sit there for like 2 hours and they like click your skull with a magnet and it hurts. And then after 5 weeks, your depression's gone, bro. And I'm like, there's no fucking, I was like, there's no way that works. They're like, no, it was a double-blind placebo, bro. It's like the gold standard. I'm like, there's no fucking way they're controlling for all the factors. And they're like, dude, it's double-blind placebo, bro. That's the cure. It's just depression was just a lack of magnets on your head the whole time. We just never knew it. This is how ridiculous this
Yeah.
whole system is. So it's like, all right, fuck it. What if I take the model from my bro Sterling Alexander Griffin and say Sterling Alexander Cooley is like, I had a different history than him. I didn't go into like get six-pack abs world, but I do want people to be healthy. So there's I'm doing what he doesn't do. He doesn't talk about vagus nerve stimulation, but vagus nerve stimulation is really key. So I was like, okay, I'll piece these things together. And was back in like 2018. I started that. I was like, let me try this. Like, could this work? I didn't even know. Could it work if you taught people like 3 different things? Not just, I don't go to people and say, just fuck off and just put an ultrasound in your neck and just don't bother me with the rest of the shit. I'm thinking like, I hope they have their mindset right. I hope they're thinking about like, there's a lot of shit that I like to think about when I'm doing this. That's why I have to be careful when I talk about this stuff. Cause I have like, I think I have like a dependency personality disorder where if like somebody asks me a question that they're like almost asking me to diagnose them medically on Twitter. I don't know who this person is. I've never heard from them. I don't know who. Blank slate. They're typing into Twitter. They're like, it's hard for me sometimes to salivate. Do you think my vagus nerve has a problem? And I'm like, my brain starts going like, what about this? What about this? And I'm like, hold on, brain, shut the fuck up. I don't know who this person is. Like, because I could get into writing like a whole chapter for this person. Like, here's what you would want to look at. And so I'd be like, I have to fight that urge because I'm like, it's making me like poor, like I'm like spending so much time just like typing to people I don't know. And I'm like, there's got to be a better like conduit for this somehow that's more impactful. Cause at the same time, like I could write a whole paragraph and people like, I'm not going to read that shit. So people aren't invested. So there's a lot of things to think about with this. But anyway, that's a long way to say, I think this is the point of the gua sha idea. Did I have that same question? Could you use a vagus nerve stimulation with ultrasound and get people good results without saying take all the medications? Maybe you could tell them like sleep 8 hours, track their HRV, try these, not a big amount of supplements, a few supplements, the ones that just focus on the vagus nerve and remove some of the ones that are really harmful for your vagus nerve. I was just a vagus nerve, like autistic vagus nerve coach, basically. That was not in the title. The autistic part wasn't there, but just the, that like vagus nerve. And I was like, could that work? But do I need a clinical FDA study on it? Which I'll never get. The fact is, it would just never happen.
Yeah.
And people say, well, you didn't go to Yale and get it. I'm like, because where the fuck would I even start?
Yeah.
Yalers, Harvarders. Oh, I should just go to Zorro Ranch and ask for some money.
Yeah.
I know what people had to do to get that, and I chose not to. And yeah, I do know people who had to go to Zorro Ranch to get funding, and I don't like them. Okay. So yeah, I had to go a different way. If you look down on me for it, then it is what it is. I live with my life and you get to live with yours. Okay. I'm proud of my decisions. At the end of the day, if people have these questions about what if, could this, I can't answer those questions for you. But how did I answer that question? I just did it. And then I started a coaching company and I helped 1,000 people doing this. And now that is all documented. And now I get in a day, 80,000 people reading my posts and going, vagus nerve, COVID, ultrasound. So it's like, I just kind of looked at the whole system as like a scam. It's all a big fraudulent scam.
Yeah.
And they're trying to prevent people from doing it by saying, oh, the only way you could do this is this. And I was like, no, it's not. And you don't have to think like you're some criminal for trying to help people. Look at the people who are the accredited helpers are hanging out with like,
how much harm they've done.
How much harm have they done?
Mm-hmm.
They're the people who are tasked with helping us.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know. I mean, no, you're never going to get a great study on anything.
To me personally, your story is more impactful to me. Like I would want to work with somebody who's had the experience and has a success story and is then helping other people. I think we've all learned that the experts are not really experts. They're just paid to say and do and treat the way they're paid to from Big Pharma or whatever. They're not experts. And the studies, it's almost like the, the double blind placebo studies. That's a way of preventing real solutions from moving forward, because a lot of those are controlled, and then you need the funding and all that kind of stuff. So there's all these barriers to that. And as after COVID, I don't give a rat's, what about any of that stuff over there. I want to work with people who have had results and are walking the talk and walking the walk and talking the talk.
Yeah.
And at the end of the
True.
day, like Sterling, you sound like that's just how I coach. It's literally, I'm like, oh, there's all these things, and then I'm met with the blank stare, like a tree full of owls. Like, oh, you asked, like, you don't want an answer because I can find them, I can get them.
Go. Yeah.
That's the thing you got. So people will. Sometimes I'll throw out this is double blind placebo, or there's this study that proved, or there's these studies. I'm always referencing because I know that there are people who that's still something that they accept as a verified source of information. That's not my modus operandi though. And I want to work with people who are just willing to give something a crack. Like my background, my health issues, I was on medications, I was doing what the doctor said, and I was still gaslit and all that sort of stuff, and it didn't really have answers for me. So I'm like, I'm going to just toss all this. I'm going to chuck baby out with the bathwater where you guys are concerned, doctors and medicos, and I'm going to figure it out for myself. And so I did, because I was willing to give it a crack, and I was desperate, and some people are and some people aren't. They're just too tired and they can't. They're just, give me that magic pill that'll fix all my things. They're not going to find it.
Yeah. That's always the easiest thing, is to just give me a pill, obviously, but
well, they're not our
look,
target ones we want to work with.
yeah.
And then the pill gives you 10 other problems.
Yeah. That's actually, out of, I'd say, the vast majority of people who ended up being like in a situation where they're like, I'm willing to do vagus nerve work, were the people who had just really willingly followed what their doctors were giving them. And that gave them benzodiazepines. A miracle of a medicine that make you feel great, but the withdrawal symptoms are like horrific. And I just like, I'm not a prescribing doctor, but I'm just curious, when your doctor did prescribe this to you, did he mention at all the side effects that could come from you ever wanting to quit this? Or did he ever give you like a game plan for this? And like, no, nothing. I was like, what the fuck? And this is an FDA approved medicine. And I don't know, man. So yeah, that's the perverse world that kind of exists in medicine.
Yeah.
I just hope that it changes. Just like people are waking up about Jeffrey Epstein, maybe they'll wake up about, oh, this is like kind of lumped into a big system, a big club, and you ain't in it.
Exactly.
And they're not necessarily looking out for your best interests. And you shouldn't accept anybody telling you that, obviously. And I'm the same way, Annie. Like, I want to provide, like, if you look at my website, I have like tons of studies on ultrasound. Ultrasound is extremely well studied, and it's been studied on the vagus nerve, but they don't want that to come together the way that I kind of put it into a prism and say, like, look, stimulating the vagus nerve does this. The ultrasound stimulates the vagus nerve. You can get these results in this way. Like, these are the same logical deductions that would be made before I blew $1 billion on a clinical study.
Yeah.
And the fact is, the ultrasounds are out there, so people are going to use them.
Yeah.
That's just the fact. That, like, so it's worse that somebody with like an expertise in ultrasound is writing out like, here are safe usage protocols that somebody would use, versus jack shit, and they just get to figure it out on their own without any background in ultrasound. I think that's a worse situation.
Yes.
100%.
I do. So just publish it.
100%.
I don't know. Tell
Yeah.
people.
Before we wrap up, can we briefly go over the supplements? Because I know
Yes.
that you have recommended L-theanine, I think, and I know that thiamine, who Elliot Overton, he's really doing fantastic work on that. Is there anything else that you want to list, Sterling, that what you think is supplement-wise, what would help with the...
A lot of the stuff that I recommend is like pretty back to the basics. Like, obviously, all the stuff you take, like magnesium, I think is good. vitamin C, vitamin D. And I'm sure people get into all kinds of things. I always get that. I have a Facebook group with 30,000 people, and they're like, I said like, hey guys, fermented food is pretty good for your vagus nerve. And the first comment I get is, not for people with histamine issues. I'm like, I knew that, but like, okay, like, yes, so we can do this, but you can only get so far. But so I say this cautiously, but the one that I found was really good was choline. And the reason that I can recommend it, and it's so up the vagus nerve's alley, is acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter that your vagus nerve uses to signal to the organs in your body. And you can get depleted in choline pretty easily. Like the standard American diet or whatever country you're in, right? It's just, there's not a lot of rich choline. Like a lot of rich choline would come from like handfuls of walnuts and like a pound of spinach a day and like 3 fresh eggs from like the 1800s that don't exist anymore, like stuff that doesn't exist. And so you can just supplement choline from like Solgar was a brand that I liked.
Oh,
And it's just like this kind of gel capsule. And they found that people doing high dose of that were able to really replenish acetylcholine, because there's kind of this like almost a Krebs cycle of how your body uses choline, attaches acetic acid to create acetylcholine. Once that's depleted in the synapse, it breaks apart into a form that needs to be recycled in your liver. And so if you're not giving it the raw byproduct, you're kind of forcing your body to like refine uranium again and again, in a sense. And so it's really creates a lot of metabolites. So I just say like high dose choline in like the phosphatidyl form is really good. And when I was 15 years ago, my mom sent me to a naturopath, and I was saying like, I feel like I'm really stressed, like high strung. It's like 15 years ago in Silicon Valley. It's like, yeah, no wonder. She was like, try like little I think it was PSP, phosphatidylcholine, in a gel cap. And I took it, and it really did kind of like have a analgesic calming effect, because it's the choline for acetylcholine for your parasympathetic system. So it's able to let your vagus nerve actually work the way it needs to. So it's the gas. I would say that's one that recommending to in the clientele over the years, that was the one that they're like, whoa, I felt something really different from this. And like 15 of those in a day, and just deplete the bottle. You can't really overdose on choline because your body like really
uses
likes
so
it.
much. Yeah. Yeah.
There is a limit though. And I always would tell people this is, you'll know you've hit your limit, which is like 5 grams. You can go up to 5 grams. If you go up to like 7 grams, you'll start sweating. You get kind of sweaty, and then it has like a kind of a fishy smell. So that's when you know. I don't even say don't get to that point. It just, we know the dosage, don't go over it, because people like always ask, what if I just did twice as much? I say, well, you smell like a fish for a couple days, and then you'll go back to normal, but that's it. So be careful. But that's my recommendation.
And what about the supplements that you mentioned that are counterproductive that you mentioned just earlier?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of different contraindications for different clients, but I would always look at like, so if we're looking at the function of the vagus nerve, things that would probably, kind of putting me on the spot here, like what would I not recommend generally? I think it would be like these basically the multivitamins that are just I think people can overload themselves with a lot of vitamins. I think that's definitely the case. Things that are like heavy metal, kind of copper, kind of stuff like that. I know people say that's good and it's bad, but I kind of give like general contraindication warnings against like trying too much of like selenium, for instance. Like selenium's a good one that people take. I did see that a lot. Like people would be like so far out in the health kind of sphere that they're on the periphery trying these little things. And I think they get so far out, they forget. Like they're on the battle lines and they just forgot to take their, like they have bottles of normal vitamins that are still probably pretty good.
Yeah.
So you kind of see that, but it's out there. So just be careful. It's hard to say don't take one thing.
Just the ones kind of hinted to that were counterproductive to
Yeah.
just your vagus nerve.
I'd say it would be more like, so the way I would look at it, and again, looking at that system that's looking at you as a consumer subscriber, is things that are very refined, foods that are refined, obviously, so junk foods. But what we found is that this whole idea of that the vagus nerve was not understood when Jeffrey Epstein was talking about it in 2013. Like, oh gosh, I wish somebody was looking into this. I'm like, look at any publication on food science, right? The natural flavorings that they put into your food to make it taste a certain way. Yeah, and then the natural means nothing. Chemical upon chemical can be called natural. It doesn't mean anything. These kinds of little things, even those packets that say organic and healthy, the weird shit that they put in there, like the weird sugars. So it's like, there's so many. It's like, you have to just be really careful. I don't feel comfortable making like one recommendation, like cut that off your list. But I think there are a lot of things that do block the function of the vagus nerve from working so that you don't feel full, for one thing. There are ways like a McDonald's hamburger. Some of the natural flavoring, the smoky flavor, that can naturally block your vagus nerve from sending signals up to your brain to say, you're good, dude, you're full. The French fries, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Whatever's in there. Like avoid this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's more of the recommendation.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you want to experiment with a lot of supplements, find what works for you. Like that's good. I think you should be taking a lot of. When I was like a kid in my 20s, I would just go to Whole Foods and be like, I want that and I want that. And I would just have bags of supplements. I think that's a great thing. Like, I really don't think you're going to hurt yourself unless you're looking out there in like weird, wild world where it's like, well, if you take a pinch of leaded mercury and fulminate it with sugar, don't that kind of stuff.
Mine back to those newspaper clippings from like the 1800s with like heroin and cocaine and
I don't know. Maybe I'm
well,
sure
Ray
there's some study
Ray
on
Pete
cocaine
says a
on the vagus nerve.
little bit of cocaine doesn't hurt anybody is what Ray Pete says.
Yeah.
I think I've seen every single politician in the Western world do that.
They're always,
a little something.
This kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sugar burger.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say the thing is, if you're doing anything for your health, it means you're looking at your health, and that's good.
Yeah.
I did find prior to having a breakout of ulcerative colitis back in like 2021, I took this recommendation for like colostrum. I think it was probably too late in my journey to fix what was going to happen, which is being hospitalized from ulcerative colitis. But I think the thing that got me there was actually like the protein powders, like the workout protein powders, these kinds of things. Things that you don't think could hurt you can actually really fuck you up. Even pea protein, like it's just glyphosate containing soybeans.
I know.
There's just weird shit, so it's just, I thought I was getting like really good stuff, but it turns out that the casein that they take from the milk is hyper allergenic, not hypo. It's just causes a gut reaction in certain people. And so it hit me bad. And so, I can't make a general recommendation, but I'd be like, I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably should have checked in that earlier before I got really sick.
Yeah.
So even health coaches can fuck stuff up sometimes, there's a lot of people who are like, there's countless health coaches who I knew from the weight loss scene that I learned what coaching is. Like, what does coaching mean? I learned it from them. And I had tons of stories where they're like, oh yeah, they overdid it on this and they got really sick, but nobody knew about it.
Right.
So yeah, it's never good or easy to admit you're wrong as a health coach, but I fucked up. I shouldn't have been drinking. I shouldn't have had that protein powder, that like milk protein powder for exercise, because I thought it was building muscles. I took a little bit too much from the gains community and it kind of ended up really hurting me, but I took some good stuff too. And passed that on.
Yeah, cool.
I'm glad you're okay now.
Yeah, way better than before. That was horrible. But
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could say don't get ulcerative colitis or any kind of inflammatory disease ever, but I don't know how much that will help. Just I'd say my best advice is be like, the paranoia that you have about like the government being bad is like, they're also the people with their hands in your food supply.
Exactly.
Okay. And that does affect you. People be like, how does this Jeffrey Epstein thing affect you? Who cares? Like, if you're like Ben Shapiro, you're like, it was just a couple of kids, like, like him. That's my horrible Ben Shapiro impression.
Oh,
Pretty good.
But it's the same thing in your food.
Yeah.
Like, they don't give a shit. And I think they derive some pleasure from hurting you.
Yeah.
Like, really, I think they do. Like,
Yeah.
it's a psychic loosh
Yeah.
farming kind of thing.
Exactly.
That's the most esoteric thing, is the loosh farming.
Exactly. Yeah. They're getting off on harming us, you know. And
Yeah.
it's like they're getting
Yeah.
kudos on their side, if you will.
Yeah.
They're getting brownie points for harming us. you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just say extreme like levels of prejudice against
Yeah.
everything. Like
Yeah.
this whole, I grew up in Berkeley, and we had this like, I
I
was
love
at the crescendo of don't discriminate. It's bad. You shouldn't discriminate against anybody. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, like somebody's like, different color, skin, or different culture, I won't discriminate. Like that,
Yeah.
that makes sense. I still believe that today. Just don't judge people based on the color of their skin or whatever, or
Right.
if they're gay or trans or whatever. Like, I'm Berkeley as far as they go. But then I grew up, I'm like, but everything else I have to discriminate. The
Right.
food I eat, the people I surround myself with, just generally people, just whatever. They could like, there are people that you get into bed with in business that could just
Mhm.
fuck you over. And I'm like, you should be discriminating all the time with people you date, with people you marry.
Yeah.
This general principle that just is all discrimination bad? No.
Yeah.
You
No,
should
well,
be discriminating
also,
all the time,
you
especially
realize-
against the food you eat. Like
Well,
on
and-
like an extremely, you should be a conspiracy theorist against the bag of chips in front of you.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what everybody wants you to think we're the haters. And, when they're literally trying to get rid of us, look at everything they're doing,
Yeah.
and targeting specific races that won't get sick from certain
Mhm.
things. And I remember when RFK Jr. came out and said that at the beginning of COVID, and boy, they got after him. Because
Oh, but that's also in the emails.
yeah, it's also medically proven that
Mhm.
yeah. And that's one of the reasons I personally think the purpose of Ancestry.com and 23andMe is to find out where, what people's
Data harvesting.
where they live, and,
Type, data harvesting.
yeah, exactly. So, and they
dark.
can find out where you live, all these people
Mhm.
live, and, they can target certain backgrounds. It's pretty scary.
But I'd like to reiterate what Sterling just said about just don't do fast food.
Mhm.
McDonald's is dark. Just don't do, just
Mm.
no fast
Right.
food.
Yeah, it sneaks into, I would say, be more tuned into your body. Like I was in Hawaii like for summer break last year or something, and I went to this cool beach where I could go like swim with fish. It was like a cool cove, Sharks Cove, I think. Beautiful area. And we went to the coffee bean store.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a girl, that the barista, and we got to talking, and I was just like, don't you just love living in Hawaii? Like, it's so cool. And she's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And so we struck up a conversation. She's like, what do you do? I was like, oh, I do like vagus nerve stuff back in the States, and here's my school group. And so she joined and stuff. And she's like, I don't know how we got onto it, but I was talking about, yeah, a couple of years ago, I fell down with like ulcerative colitis, and I was on the carnivore diet at the time too. I was trying to do like a very high protein rich diet. And there was a time 3 months before where like it worked for the first 3 months, but then after 3 months after that, I was losing weight and appearances looked okay, but I was like feeling bad. I think I didn't want to admit that I should stop
Mm-hmm.
doing so good. But I was just eating steaks all the time, like good organic, grass-fed, all that stuff. And I just got sicker and sicker. And so that all culminated in like I think me getting the best of myself with this diet, and she's like, oh, I'm on the carnivore diet. I've been on it for 6 months. I feel like shit. I was thinking it was just me. And I was like, I would probably recommend you probably stop doing that. Just go back to like what you were doing before. You won't regret it. I could have just stayed eating what I ate prior to that, which is all pretty good food anyway. I think people do carnivore after eating junk food, and they're like, I feel better because they're not eating junk food. Try just not eating junk food. Don't do these extreme ass diets.
Well, I think carnivore is good for certain people, but I don't think it's good for long term.
No.
I
No.
think you can kind of cycle it through if you want to.
Yeah.
I did it and I felt amazing.
I felt
But I
amazing
do it
for
long
the first 3.
I feel like almost like if you can get yourself in a clean diet and then eat intuitively what your body is craving, it's probably going to be the best thing for you.
Lessons that we have to learn the hard way, I guess. But
Exactly.
that's why being on the internet and telling and talking about these stories is so important,
Mhm.
because like you don't have to reinvent the wheel,
No,
generally speaking. So
no.
Thank you so much for joining us. It was another good
thanks,
chat.
guys.
Took an unexpected turn, but spicy times.
It's like,
Timely, I think.
yes,
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
yes.
Awesome. Thanks, Sterling.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Sterling.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you again.